Welcome everyone to the Municipality of Monroeville Zoning Hearing Board meeting for October 2nd, 2024. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Hello, Sharon. How about a roll call, please?
Mr. Gatos?
Here.
Mr. D'Agostino?
Here.
Mrs. Watkins?
Here.
Wilkins.
Wilkins, I'm sorry. Mr. Hutchison?
Here.
Mr. Whitfield?
Here.
Mr. Dice?
Here.
Mr. Weldon?
Here.
Thanks, Sharon. Next up is the approval of minutes. Any changes or additions or anything for the minutes from the August meeting?
No.
Can I have a motion for approval?
Make motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, before we move on, again, just make sure that all your cell phones are either turned off or on silence through the entirety of the meeting. So, new business. Paul.
Okay. We have one item tonight, 24-12-A, Blair Johnson. Applicant requests a use variance from section 504S, specific standards and criteria for conditional use of the Monroeville zoning ordinance number 2779 to operate a contractor's yard for the explicit use of storing towed vehicles. The property is a 3-acre vacant parcel located along Forbes Road, tax parcel 861B181 in the S Conservancy zoning district.
Thank you, Paul. Is the applicant present? Come on up, please. So we need you to sign in and state your name for Sharon, please.
I already signed it. My name is Blair Johnson.
Okay. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this matter?
I do.
Sounds good. Please proceed.
Do you proceed?
Yep, with your testimony for the variance.
Okay, I might need a little bit of guidance what you guys are looking for.
I want to speak up just a little bit.
Just explain your project, what you want to do, why you're asking for a variance.
So the property that I'm looking to purchase is a vacant parcel of land. Most of it is flat, accessible from Forbes Road. I'm looking to make an external storage lot for my towed vehicles there. I actually don't intend on changing anything about the property. The way that it is actually perfect for what I need, minus a gate to secure it and a fence.
Okay. Any questions for the?
So you haven't yet purchased
I have
the
not.
land?
Okay, let me ask a few questions
Sure.
as legal counsel. You said in your description that this is flat land.
The area that I want to use for
It's
my
flat.
for my vehicles is perfectly flat, yes.
Okay. You heard the chairman make reference to a word hardship. Can you articulate or tell us that there is some hardship that's being imposed by this land?
Hardship that's being imposed on
Hardship.
the land.
Yeah, like,
So the land, as I see it, is a difficult property, which is why I think it's actually been for sale with so many different people, and it's moved ownership so many times, because it actually is beyond another property, so that you have to have a right-of-way to get to this property. And it is just a vacant piece of land that truly doesn't have many purposes other than maybe somebody that wants to just own a piece of property that's wooded. I guess the biggest issue with it is that it was a conservancy and that it is accessible only through a right-of-way.
okay, it's zoned conservancy, right?
Correct.
Could you build a building on it?
You probably could.
Let me try to explain to you, when you come to the zoning hearing board for a variance, the applicant has the burden of proving that the land has experienced hardship such that you're not able to use it for the use that you're proposing. I'm hearing that the land could be used as a site for a building, a school, a natural center, which is one of the uses under the public uses, under that particular zoning districts, which are permitted. If you're not able to articulate that there is a hardship sufficient on the land, then there's no way this board can grant a variance. I say that to you because that's the fundamental part of establishing variance.
I understand.
The classification is what it is, and there are permitted uses there for parks, for single-family structures, for public uses, for nature uses. All of those are permitted in this district. Your use doesn't fit within one of those districts.
I agree.
And, okay, you agree. I appreciate that. Without that hardship, I don't know where this board can go but to deny the application because it doesn't fit within the definition of variance. Let me add a little capper to all of that. You're not only asking for a variance, you're asking for something called a, quote, use variance, end of quote. That type of variance is even more difficult to achieve under our present zoning laws in Pennsylvania than just a variance. You know, I assume you have not talked to an attorney to discuss this matter. If you were to talk to a land use attorney, somebody that does this for a living, I think they would be discouraging you from doing it. I'm not prejudging it. I don't have a vote. I'm merely stating to you what the law is in this area. I think I've covered my points. Yeah, and you've admitted that not admitted, you've stated that it's zoned commercial, or rather conservancy. And with that, I would open it up to the board. If you have any questions, please ask it of the applicant.
Do you mind if I rebuttal back?
Yeah, you're gonna get a chance.
Okay.
If you have questions that you want to articulate to the applicant, it'll be time to do that, and then you'll get a chance to.
Absolutely.
Anybody have any questions?
I have one question. So how many vehicles were you expecting to store?
So I'm glad you brought that up. I spoke with Paul about that, and my original presumption of how many it was 50, and my wife enlightened me with a spreadsheet here that I was grossly wrong. We average about 20 per month, and that would actually be less on the property at one time than it would be 20 at one time, because we only keep vehicles for 10 to 15 days. Yeah, so I actually have that if anybody would like to see my printout of how many vehicles we do average from. This would be June, July, August, and September of this year.
No, my question was really on if it was going to be a lot of cars, would this be enough property
Oh,
to
definitely.
do that?
Absolutely, yeah. It'd be more than sufficient, the way it sits.
So can you explain to us what your business is?
I pick up vehicles for banks, so I'm a repossession agent.
Okay.
I store them for 10 to 15 days, and they are then transported to an auction.
So there's no way they'll stay longer than 10 to
Never.
15 days?
So the banks are all under contract with all of the auctions, and they do not pay any storage ever. They're pretty diligent about it.
Do you currently have a lot now, and if so, where?
I do. I'm currently in Verona. This is my family's business that I took over. We have a property on Sandy Creek Road. That's where I intend on keeping my office and my physical home base.
How many vehicles do you have there currently now, 10 to 15 vehicles?
Yeah, it would be about that. My end of September number here is 18.
So, are you gonna have security on this lot? I mean, if nobody's gonna be there, is, you know,
Security as in a person? No.
like
it-
monitoring it, or?
Yes.
Cameras.
We would have
Cameras.
24-hour monitoring, yes, ma'am. And that's actually another reason why I really love this property for my business is the way it is positioned off of Forbes Road. You would never see any of these cars from the road. And that's just another wonderful part about it for me is that, you know, it doesn't have that curb appeal for somebody that may want to break in or steal parts, is that they would never see it. And along with that, there's no foot traffic on that part of that road. There isn't even a sidewalk, actually.
On either side of the property, I believe there's 2 homes.
There is, yes. There's a structure that shares the right-of-way. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay.
There's a structure that shares the right-of-way
Okay.
to the property. I'm not sure if it's lived in or not. I've attempted to talk to people if they do live there. Not really sure.
And I believe there's also a house to the right
Correct.
of that as well. Paul, have we had any of the residents there mention or bring anything up?
I've spoken to one resident that was concerned about it. That was it. It was a phone call.
Just as an aside, Paul, do you have any rationale that you can offer to explain why we should grant this application, given the standard for a use variance and hardship?
No.
Do you agree with the applicant's rendition of what this property is? It's a flat piece of property that could be built on.
There's a very small portion that's flat. Out of the 3 acres, I would say maybe 10% of it is a flat area. The rest of it is a stream, valley, and steep slopes.
Do you agree with the applicant that a building could be built on the site?
You could get something built there, yes.
Anything else you want to offer?
Not at this time.
Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
I do. You mentioned having counsel here. I did contact counsel as recommended, and all 3 of the lawyer offices that I called were looking for basically half of what I'm paying for the property to show up here and do what I'm doing in front of you.
Are you trying to tell me they weren't charging you enough?
Correct.
I understand it. It costs money to make money. It costs money to do these kinds of things. So your reason for not having an attorney here tonight is.
It's a hardship, yes,
gonna cost-
absolutely.
But it's
and,
gonna cost you too much money.
It would have cost me definitely too much money. I'm
Okay.
not a gambling man, quite frankly. I think
Okay.
I work too hard for my money.
Okay.
They did think that I had a fighting chance here with this, given the fact that I don't want to change a single thing about the property. The way it sits is how I want it.
Okay, well, did they use the term fighting? Fighting chance?
I might be paraphrasing there. I don't believe they did use that verbiage.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Any other questions?
Do you have anything else you want to offer?
I have a lot to say. I really, really urgently would love to set up my business here. The fact that I filed it for a commercial zoning is basically because it does, the purpose that I want the property for, as you mentioned earlier, doesn't fit a conservancy, but it also doesn't fit the commercial. And my main purpose of being here tonight is to either, one, get the approval for it to be a commercial property zoned, or get the approval from the board for me to set up there and do as I intend to with my business, without the fear of being fined for every day that I am there. So that,
Just one other question back
Sure.
to Paul. Do we have areas in the community that are set up for auto repair and parking?
Yes. There's different areas within the municipality for vehicle repairs and service
And
stations.
those are permitted uses in various zoning classifications?
Yes.
Are any of those in the district that this property is located?
No, none of that is permitted in the Conservancy.
Anything else, sir?
not working on cars. I'm actually not even bringing in cars that need worked on.
I understand.
You understand my difficulty with trying to find the right purpose or the filing to get the approval for me to do this, and this is
Well, I think you've articulated what your purpose is.
correct. And I just don't think it falls into any of the very black and white
That's
brick
why
and
you're
mortar.
asking for a variance.
Correct.
Anything else?
I think that's all.
All right. You want to take a seat?
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't leave yet.
Oh, you can, no, take a seat. Are we calling people up?
If there's anybody that wants to offer any testimony,
Please come forward.
raise your right hands.
Come forward, please.
Why don't you just raise your right hand, swear them all in at once?
Do you all solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this matter?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Okay.
Let's take the guy up front first.
Please sign in, if you would,
did.
and state your name for Sharon.
Martin McHugh.
Thank you.
Good evening. So as far as the property he was talking about with the house that's right next to it, that's my one rental property. Those individuals, the Hahns, have lived there about 30 years now. They moved in when I was a kid. They moved there because it's basically out of the way. They like living in a, as they say, a holler, and they like to be left alone, which I understand. We've bought the we've lived there my entire life, the house to the right of it. We bought the property further down from my cousins. The whole area is conservation conservatory land. We bought it so people wouldn't build on it, do that, just basically keep it the way it is. Because growing up, everything was a mess. The Westinghouse toxic waste they removed, you know this story. It's finally coming back. We got bald eagles now, it's crazy. So when my uncle died, we also inherited that little garage that literally touches his property, or soon to be. There was large pieces of equipment, 5 old cars, we probably got rid of 100 tires. We're doing our due diligence to try to get it back to what a conservancy is supposed to be, either farming, forestry, whatever, right? I have little kids, well, 20, but he's special needs, and 14. He wants to live there too. He wants to raise his kids there. And I know this sounds like a sob story, but it's not. We've had it a very long time. It's a beautiful place, even along a very busy road. And we are just trying to keep it that way. I've spent a lot of time and effort trying to keep it that way, and I don't want to hold anybody back. But I live here. And it would, for the Hahns who live there, going up and down, constantly moving cars back and forth on a road that floods out at least once a year. I didn't know if you know that. That road I've replaced 4 times. It is, what is it? It's Calvington Housing Project is on top of the hill. The runoff water comes out of 2 major pipes along with the other ones. Usually once a year after a heavy rain, washes all down, stuffs up, and replace it. I have no problem with it. It's rain, I get it, totally understandable. It's already enough hassle, and I'm just trying to keep things the way they are and not burden the area. We all live in housing projects and everything else. I just want it where I can come home and my kids can live where I have and experience it. Just go hiking, do whatever. Could you build on it? Yes, you could. The person who owned it beforehand wanted to build a house there. He bought it from Baltimore. He came and saw it. He was looking at it sight unseen. I'm like, I don't know if it looked better on the map for a house. You know, for anything else, yes, of course you could. I don't know. Like I said, I harbor back to it was put into conservancy for a reason. I'm trying to keep it there. That's really all I'm trying to do. So I don't believe any kind of commercial property or commercial business there would benefit, or definitely not benefit me, but definitely not help that situation out. So that's why I'm here.
So the former owner wanted to build a house and decided that it wasn't,
Yes, he bought it off of Bruno. I can't remember his full name. He bought it off of him, wanted to build a house. He came from Baltimore, was looking at it, was like, okay, and his wife was like, no way. So they ended up buying another 8 acres out somewhere else and put it up for sale. So it just, because it doesn't fit. There's no gas, there's no water, and that was the other thing. And I know he's not gonna be storing vehicles because he's a repo yard, but, you know, we all have well water, we all have these things, like, there's not a whole lot of amenities, which is kinda nice. We're kinda like off-grid, but not, you know, so, we're really not, but we like to pretend. So, yeah, close enough. So I'm just, that's my major concern, is I'm just trying to keep what little bit of, like, dirt and nature there is left there. Now, once I'm dead, hey, you know, my kids can fight that fight, but that's all I gotta say. Any questions? Anything for me?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
thank you.
Good evening, Georgiana Woodhall. I live actually on Broadway Boulevard, but I'm very familiar with that area there, and I don't know if you know some of the history on it. A while back in 2006, and these people have wells, there was some drilling in that area to put in gas wells. And in order for them to do that at the time, they were actually required to post some sort of a bond, so that if there was, if any contamination got into their well water, that this bond, this money would be there, and these people wouldn't be, you know, out of water. And I also want to ask if this goes through, if these people would be willing to, as a condition, to have a bond, so that if something occurs, if there's leaching into the soil, because from what I understand, this is going to be gravel and not asphalt. So if you bring vehicles in there and there's chemicals, that, whether it's oil, gas, or whatever, get into the soil there, get into the nearby creek. I mean, this was zoned as conservancy for a reason. And as I said, there's a lot of history there. I don't know where these vehicles are coming from. It's a good hiding place. You can't see it from the road. When people have their cars repoed, it is not good. And, you know, meetings are public. And I just think it would be a bad idea to do this, knowing the history on the property. And if they want to have that, if for some reason this gets approved, I would require asphalt there, you know, for that reason. Thank you.
Thanks, Georgina.
Sir,
Yes, sir. Hey, how you doing? My name is Delwin Cosia. I'm actually the owner of the property.
why don't you spell your name for?
Spelled Delwin. Last name is Cosia.
Thank you. And you signed in, sir?
You know what?
There's a pen right beside you. There you go.
My wife signed in. Excuse me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thing I got to say about the property, I bought the property with about an acre cleared off. I probably cleared off another half because we were going to build there. But unfortunately, my wife went overboard and got something 5,000 square feet. So we had to get some land somewhere else to build, which we did, and that's great. About the 10% that was cleared off, it's way more than that. Probably maybe an acre and a half, maybe more.
That's
Actually,
flat?
It's flat, yeah. Actually, you're Marty, yeah.
It's close. I mean.
You were down there moving dirt and moving stuff, yeah.
I would say the overall flat, I mean, I don't, as far as my thing, I would say it's probably close to an acre. That means there's 2 acres that goes into the woods right into the creek.
So you're the owner of the property?
I am the owner of the property.
There's at least an acre that's.
Yeah, probably more, because they came out to do a survey, and he wanted me to clear out some more of the land so they could do a survey. They did the survey. I actually have
two sets of prints that I had drawn up. One was a commercial set of prints, which was already approved by Monroeville. You guys already approved it. Then I had another set of prints that you guys approved, but the build was too big, come to find out. So long story short, I don't really know the history behind the property. Is it a great piece of property for business and work? Absolutely. I mean, the house, I'm sorry, Marty, I don't know your neighbors.
The Hans, Linda and all that.
The Hans, they're good people. I talk to them every time I go there. They tell me when somebody's driving up on the property, they're good people. But Marty, you gotta agree with me. There's tons of bikes and.
They make their money off.
I mean, it's just, I got videos of it. It's just a free-for-all. So, for them to say, for somebody to say that it's not a place for business and to do in business, I disagree. There's a well on there for water. If somebody wanted to do water, there's a utility pole there for the utilities. It's a perfect spot for storage. There's nothing's gonna leak. The guy that was there before me, Jim Bruno, actually, be honest with you, he just called me today because he knew I was coming here. He actually wants to buy it back, him and his friend, so they could store whatever equipment they're trying to do some new business thing out here. I don't know, I don't know, the guy's a little wacky, but, but that's what he's trying to do. So if he doesn't get it, Jim Bruno will be back. So that's all I wanted to say. I think it's a great piece of property. I don't know too much about what Marty and this other young lady was saying. What is it? Georgiana was saying. I don't know anything about that. Only thing I know is I bought the property to build on it. My build went a little bit overboard. Now we're trying to sell it.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions?
All right, there are no questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Does anybody else want to testify?
Okay.
So then we'll close the testimony tonight. And you're now in a position, if you choose to act on this matter, or you could wait till next month if you wanted to.
Well, at this point, any other questions or anything else that y'all want to bring up or discuss at this point? Anything else you've thought of?
The bottom line is it's S Conservancy right now, and the applicant is asking for that to be changed. And
No, he's asking for a use variance in an S Conservancy district to permit a use that's not permitted in in that zoning district.
Okay, thank you, yeah, that's right. Okay, so I just wanted clarification on that. It's S Conservancy, and he would like to use it for another purpose than what S Conservancy
Permits.
I did have one thing also. I just wanted to question the, we mentioned the entrance and the right-of-way. I did notice, every time that I've gone past there, I did notice the flooding sometimes too. And so with the use of the, the multiple vehicles going in and out of there, would that affect how that right-of-way is maintained?
You have to come to the microphone.
It's a gravel road. After the second time it washed out, we had a triaxle full of large stone put in, but we got Red Dog and more gravel put on top of it. If you've seen that'll happen once a year, easy. Large vehicles will tear it up. Normal sized vehicles will not. For the most part, it is what it is. Picture a gravel road, there is a large pipe that you have to travel over. I'm sure that's to grade to handle at least normal sized vehicles consistently. Any large ones may be an issue. But the road's about as beat up as it can get, and if it takes any more abuse, it'll just, like I said, it's one of those things. It's an old abandoned Monroeville road, and it's abandoned for a reason, and it looks it. Like we grade it as best we can, but I'm not rich either, so we get out there with shovels and maybe a bobcat every once in a while. So that's it.
Okay, so if it were to be affected by the multiple vehicles going in and out of there, and the roadway was in need of repair, who would bear the burden?
Technically, me, because if they just have a right-of-way, but it's mine, I'm guessing I'm having to. But like I said, I've put in 4, and I really don't want to put on any more. Matter of fact, I can't. So if the road goes too bad, then I just won't. And I'm not threatening it, like I literally can't afford it anymore.
Right.
So my tenants are old, they're probably gonna have to move anyway, like they're getting up in age, they're very not well, very nice people, but at the end of the day, you know, they can't fix it, and I'm pretty much tapped out of cash. So, it is what it is.
I have a question as well. So you're saying this road, big vehicles, well, wouldn't a flatbed be bringing these cars?
I'm guessing a flatbed or a tow truck.
So that would probably,
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna try to villainize anything here. Is a tow truck and is a flatbed much bigger vehicle than your typical car? Of course it is. Especially if it has a couple cars on it, the tonnage is gonna be, if it's coming and going a lot, yes, that's gonna do more damage. If it's a typical tow truck, probably not that much more than your average dump truck.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it depends on the volume that's going through that road.
Wear and tear.
I mean, he literally, my tenant has like a Prius, an old one, and like a little pickup truck that they park there all the time. So, picture just your normal gravel road, what damage will be done.
Okay, thank you.
thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I have a question for you.
For him?
For you, actually.
Okay, well, let's take him and we'll do me at the end.
Okay.
Mind if I
Oh,
rebuttal?
this is your dance.
Okay. So I'm pretty familiar with right-of-way. I grew up in Murraysville, and our property that, where I grew up in actually bordered another property where there was a right-of-way. And it's basically a cordial agreement between the two neighbors, whether, you want to fix it up or not. If the one person doesn't want to fix it, then it's on the other one. Being that I would be all of the traffic on there, I would certainly take responsibility for any repairs or any improvements that would need done on the driveway. That's not an issue. And as far as the flatbed issue goes, I don't own a flatbed. I have a normal pickup truck that tows one car at a time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just say one thing is, from a legal standpoint, the right-of-way has no relevancy in this matter, whether it's the turnpike or just a gravel little pathway. That's not a consideration that you should consider when you're granting or denying a use variance. It's the use that's the focal point that you should be on. You had a question?
So a question for you, because it's zoned as conservatory, is it possible for it to be changed to commercial, and if so, what would that take?
Well, it would be if anybody can apply for rezoning. This would start to take on the consideration of what I will call spot zoning.
Okay.
It's just a small little area. I think what surrounds it is this district, right?
Correct.
So it would be surrounded by conservancy. So you would be developing a spot. Anyone could object to that spot if it's less than 20 acres. So, and I'm using that as an arbitrary number.
Okay.
There are spot zones that have been approved as small as 7 acres, but they really courts scrutinize that, and they don't want to create that atmosphere in a neighborhood that is conservancy in nature and bring in a business. They're reluctant to do that.
Okay.
Think about it in your plan. If one of the homeowners in your probably residential plan decided they want to put a small convenience center in, just on their property, that would not be conducive to their neighbors. So that's really the thought.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions, concerns? Anybody else in the audience? Any questions or anything else? Regina, one last thing.
I did have one other question, and that is the closeness to the creek and anything that would enter into the creek. Is that not, are you not bringing in the Army Corps of Engineers when it comes to something like that?
Those are all the kinds of considerations that would be in front of the borough as opposed to the zoning hearing board. And I would suggest to you, if this was granted, the applicant's gonna have to make out a building permit application. At that point, they're gonna be looking at driveways and how big they are and all of the considerations that you raised.
And wetlands and anything else
Yeah,
that's involved with that.
That all is done in front of the municipality.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. So at this point, all testimony is closed, and I am open for a motion from the board.
I will make a motion to deny.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of denial of this, please say aye.
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 And so it is
Is it
unfortunately
unanimous? Just
Unanimous.
So I understand.
No nays.
and
No
no
no's.
no's. So it is, unfortunately, it is denied.
Thank you for your time, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.